Hey everyone, and welcome to Good Till Canceled. This is actually our first mini series video that we're going to do, focusing on retirement. We're going to try and do we envision about 4 or 5 of these videos per mini series. And this week we're going to kick it off with our first one. Chris and I, as you may know, both are CFP professionals, so certified financial planners. So helping clients prepare for retirement is what we specialize in. That's what we do on a daily basis, right? That's one of the number one things we help with. So we thought maybe just putting together a quick mini series, talking about some points here and there, maybe giving some planning opportunities would just be a good thing to talk about and show you guys. So without further ado, let's get it started. We're going to start with, this week is titled "Preparing Yourself for Retirement." We're just going to start with kind of like a checklist style thing, right? So anywhere from 10 years out, 5 years out, even to a month out, right? What do you have to start preparing to get into retirement?
Right. So the first things first, right? What is retirement? What
Yep.
is retirement to you? It looks different for everybody.
Yep.
Are you going to fully retire and not work? Do you want to travel? Do you want to spend more time with your family?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be a snowbird? Are you going to golf all the time? Do you want to work part-time? So answering some of these questions and understanding kind of what you want retirement to look like has a big effect on exactly kind of, when you can retire, how easy the retirement's going to be, kind of factors into all the underlying assumptions that your person that you're going to be working with or your advisor or yourself are going to make. So working part-time, obviously, for example, gives you a little bit more leniency on how much you can retire with, because you're going to have kind of a supplemental income. If you're going to be traveling a lot, obviously that's going to be kind of a larger expenditure. So you might need a little bit more money. So understanding what retirement looks like to you, and also just helping you think about it. Not a lot of people actually think about what they want to be doing in retirement. They just know that, well, I worked all the time and now I'm just not going to be working all the time. But you need kind of anchor activities. You need things to do, things to keep you sharp, things
Mm-hmm.
that you like to do, ideally, right? So you want to be enjoying retirement, and you want to make sure that you're actually kind of accomplishing all of that in retirement as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how many people, because we like to ask that question, right? Because we spend our entire lives preparing and planning for retirement, right? And when clients come in and they ask always the question, "Can I retire? Can I do this?" And Chris and I will ask, "Well, tell me what retirement looks like to you," right? And that takes people by surprise a lot. They kind of sit there and go, I never really thought about it. It's like, well, how do we know what to plan for if we don't know what we're planning for, right? And
Right.
it's just, I think taking the time to think about that will tremendously help you with planning, and just like Chris said, being in the mindset, right? Just getting in that retirement mindset, right? So
For sure. And going along with thinking about what retirement looks like is kind of understanding what your retirement goal is. So, when do you actually want to retire? So, this is why it's important to kind of start thinking about this maybe 10 years, even longer out. So, if you're a really long-term thinker, say, okay, I'm 30, I want to retire at 55 or 60. I don't want to work until I'm 65. Having that number in mind, kind of what is retirement going to cost, that obviously goes along with kind of what we were talking about. What do you want to actually do? How long are you going to retire? That kind of goes along with when you're actually going to retire. So if you're going to retire early, retirement's probably going to be a little bit longer.
yep.
If you have longevity in your family and everyone in your family has lived until 100, you could probably factor in probably a little bit longer of a time horizon as well. But if you're a heavy smoker and drinker and you're overweight, probably, maybe you don't need to plan for as long, living to 100 and 105, maybe not so necessary. And then also just having your goal specifically written out, right? So what is the dollar amount that so not just I, right? So usually you're retiring, it's going to be you and a partner.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we need saved up to actually retire comfortably to meet these goals? So
Right.
have a very explicit goal written out,
Mm-hmm.
and having those goals written out will kind of force you along the way to make sure that you're actually on pace to achieve those goals.
Yep. And this is all part of the planning process. So it's we want our clients to be specific about their goals, right? Because it helps us then tell them how to get there and help them get there. So yeah, that's all that's a good start with that. One of the next things you want to do is start collecting some statements, right? So for instance, if you have a pension, start getting you get monthly statements. You kind of, it shows you what your monthly payment is going to be, what your options are. Start collecting them and evaluating them, right? Because a lot of people, they get a pension and they always see the one number and they don't realize that that number is usually the single life annuity, meaning that it's only for you until you die and it will not go to your spouse, right? So you want to evaluate all the options. There's joint survivorship, there's lump sum, there's all that. Just start getting all that stuff together. Another thing is Social Security statements. You start getting them in the mail at age 60. You can get them earlier just by logging on to socialsecurity.com and setting up an account, but start getting them to get you an idea of what your retirement benefit's going to be. It will show you what it's going to be at full retirement age, and it will show you what it's going to be if you take it early, and it will show you what it's going to be if you wait until 70, right? So we're going to talk about more of the pension Social Security thing in our next video, which will be, building a retirement income plan. But when you're preparing for retirement, just get those statements together.
Yeah. And, spoiling another point that we're going to have a little later in the episode is working with an advisor is going to really help you kind of strategically manage when to take Social Security. So there's a lot of different strategies to help maximize that benefit, and kind of working with an advisor, someone that knows Social Security really well, will help you obviously kind of maximize the amount that you're going to get between you and your spouse, or whatever is really available to you.
Yep.
One of my favorite things, right, looking at all your statements and getting everything kind of in order, is also the consolidation aspect. So when you're getting ready to retire, or you should be doing this kind of all throughout your life, but leading up to retirement, getting all of your investment accounts together. So Alex talked about kind of the pension, Social Security, income aspect. So this is going to be all the things that you've done to save up to supplement those excess incomes, or those incomes. So think about your IRAs, your brokerages, your 401ks. You want to kind of get that all together and understand how much you really have. And then what a lot of people find is that they have areas where they can really consolidate things, and it can make everything a lot cleaner and a lot easier and a lot more manageable when it comes time to retire. So if you've had a lot of jobs over the years, or if you've switched jobs a bunch of times, think back to the 401ks that you have. If you haven't rolled them over into an IRA, all of those 401ks need to be consolidated. Usually we can, advise to roll them into another 401k, or to roll them into an IRA. And then when you retire from your final place, right, everything can kind of go into one account. And then also, if you have multiple Roth accounts, or you can combine those for whatever reason, or taxable accounts, right? You might have one taxable, a bunch of different individual accounts that just happen to pop up over time for different needs. You can combine them all into one, or have one joint account between you and your partner, and kind of move from there. And it makes everything, like looking at the big picture, a lot easier, more manageable, a lot less stressful. So that's a big thing that I find, that it doesn't actually like save you money or help find money or provide any like real financial benefit to you, besides the peace of mind of knowing where everything is. It really is kind of de-stresses the whole process for you.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised how many clients that we have, they don't do that. And then when they get older, right, they start getting in their 80s, they don't know where things are anymore. They have no idea how to access certain accounts. And, it's all stuff that can be avoided if you just consolidate early. Another thing to you keep in mind, at age right now, at least until they change the law, at age 72, any qualified accounts you have, 401ks, IRAs, you have to take distributions from, and you have to calculate that number across all of your qualified accounts. So if you have 3 IRAs and 3 401ks, you have to calculate it across all of them. That can be kind of a pain, right? So why not consolidate all that into one account? Do it from there. And usually your custodian or your advisor can help with that. So that's one of the things. So all right,
great point.
Yeah, thanks. All right, next topic is a big one, Medicare, right? So this is always a big thing. It starts at age 65. I'm going to put a chart in here to take a look at, but just start thinking about Medicare, learning about it. a lot of people don't realize you have to enroll in Part A at age 65, even if you are still working. If you don't, you'll be penalized for that, going into your premiums when you do enroll. So you want to make sure you get enrolled at age 65. Part A obviously is, the inpatient hospital care, things like that. Then when you retire, you'll enroll in the other stuff, Part B, Part D. If you're doing Part C, it's just beneficial to learn about all this stuff, and take that into account, because the last thing you want to do is have unexpected costs, with healthcare in retirement. And Medicare can be kind of confusing. Sometimes it helps to either talk to an advisor. There's a lot of consultants out there that help advise on Medicare, but we would recommend taking the time to learn about it. Don't let it sneak up on you.
And there's a timing aspect to this, correct? Like where people have to enroll at certain points and times, and that they kind of miss those times, and it's not so good.
It's enrollment is October 15th through December 7th every year. So every year you can kind of reevaluate your coverage, maybe get another supplemental plan, maybe change to Part C, whatever it is. So, that's October 15th every year. And then that kind of goes into our next topic, which is just healthcare in general. I'm going to put another chart in here as well. So Fidelity every year comes out with a number, and the most recent number was that an average couple age 65 today will need $300,000 to cover healthcare related costs in retirement, right? So, and I remember a couple of years ago, it was like 280. So it's already gone up, and it will continue to go up every year. It's just, getting that mindset. People usually don't take that stuff into account when they plan for retirement, because, they're like, oh, well, Medicare, all these things, but there are expenses that come with healthcare and retirement. And what are those expenses? Well, this chart will show about 18% go towards just generic branded drugs and specialty drugs. 43% will go to your co-pays, right? So your co-insurance, your deductibles, things like that. And then 39%, right, go to the premiums, right? You have to pay premiums for Medicare. There's Part B and Part D premiums, right? So they can get expensive. The more money you make too, the more you pay, right? It's income based. So,
right.
Taking this stuff into account for planning is really beneficial, right? So it doesn't sneak up on you.
Yeah, I think this is the biggest thing that surprises a lot of people, and even surprises me sometimes when you look at it, just how much money you really do need saved for just medical expenses and healthcare costs.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And it's just one of those things that, people always just say, well, I just need whatever it is. They throw a number out there, $1 million saved for retirement, and they're not really sure kind of how that money gets, allocated over time, or why they need that much money for whatever reason.
Yep.
And this is a pretty big one. Especially, another thing is too, if you're planning on you're watching this video, there's a good chance that you're kind of a go-getter or what have you, and you maybe want to retire early. So you actually have to kind of supplement that time period between the time that you don't have insurance with your employer and the time that you can actually apply for this stuff. So that's another cost.
Go to the marketplace right now for that. So, know those costs as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then how do you actually save for this? An amazing vehicle that, is number one on my favorite investment account list is going to be an HSA account. So this is basically an account that you have if you have a high deductible health plan, and it's basically triple tax savings. So it's money goes into the account without you paying taxes on it. The earnings inside the account, usually they allow you to invest in kind of sub investments after you reach a kind of a minimum amount. Those will grow tax free over time. And then when you use when you use those funds for retire, or you can use those funds anytime over the course of your life for medical expenses, those are tax free when you actually use them. So what actually a lot of people will do is they fund these HSAs to the maximum. I think it's $3,100 or $3,200 right per year right now.
Yeah, married 7,500, I believe.
And married 7,500. Yeah. So they fund this to the maximum because it's not a lot of money to put into it. Let those grow over time, and then when you do pay deductibles or co-pays or what have you, they actually just pay it with their credit card over time, because it's actually so advantageous to leave that money in that account and let it grow over time that the benefit of saving that much money over 20, 30 years, you'll have that $300,000
Yeah.
if you're kind of sticking to the plan, investing the excess savings,
Mhm.
and kind of not using it too frivolously for different things. So
Yeah.
that's a great account if you have it. Highly recommend utilizing it to its fullest.
Yeah. Yeah. Ask your employer if you have one, if you're not sure. And if you do have one, max that bad boy out now.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. Next topic is seek professional advice. Right. So obviously, Chris and I, that's what we do for a living, right?
A bit biased, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit biased, but there's studies that show, right? And I wrote a blog about this, I believe, last year. Aon Hewitt's study from 2008. Obviously, that's long ago, but shows that people that seek financial advice typically outperform those who don't by 1.86% per year, right? And especially during times of extreme uncertainty, like 2009, the tech bubble in 2000, probably COVID. We're going to see those numbers as well. During those times, people that have good financial advice they typically outperform by about 3% annually. I mean, that's huge. People, I mean, think about that. Everyone loves that outperformance, right? Talk about outperformance, 3% is great. If you're outperformed by 3%, that makes a world of difference.
And it pays for itself. The advice pays for itself. And I was thinking about it when we were talking about this, and this is probably even more beneficial for retirees.
Yes.
Just in that time, because you have nothing else to do. Like if you're at all interested in your money, you're probably hyper focused on all of your assets and the market. So you're probably watching the news on a daily basis and reading about it and maybe checking in on your accounts. You're not, you don't have something to kind of occupy your time where you were previously working and you weren't thinking about it, and you were contributing to a 401k and you were dollar cost averaging and stuff. And now you're just kind of hyper focused on it, which could lead you to make even worse decisions because you're just so in the know. So it's probably even more beneficial for people who are retired, just to have that second opinion or a second set of eyes, what have you.
Yeah. And the margin for error in retirement is so much thinner, right? So when you have 10 years and 20 years that you're working, and you make an emotional mistake, right? And you underperform that year by 3%, 10%, whatever, you can make up for that over the long term. When you're retired and you don't have any more real income coming in, and you have a lot less, a shorter time horizon, your margin for error is much thinner. Making a big mistake, right, in one of these years, especially, what just happened, if you would have made a mistake, it will significantly impact your chances of money lasting throughout retirement, right? It's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, retirees definitely seek professional advice. If anything, it helps just to get a third set of eyes on, or a second set of eyes on it, right? Maybe even a third. But because, humans are emotional, we have biases about our own money, and we make mistakes, right? Getting an objective third party to look at things can help. At the very least, they can tell you if you're on the right path and how to get there. So, all right, last thing, I put this in here. I'm going to put a chart in. The chart is, it basically goes over, the get in a retirement mindset, right? So this just kind of helps with people's mental aspect, right? When they go to retire, they got to kind of think about the stuff that they can control, right? So there's going to be three things, right? Things that you have total control over, things that you have little control over, and things that are completely out of your control. And you need to come to grips with these things in order to have a healthy, successful retirement. So you can see here the total control. Obviously, you have control over your saving and your spending, right? You control what you spend, no matter what you think you do. You control what you save. Your asset allocation and location, right? So where you're invested, how you're invested, you have control over that. Things that you have some control over: employment, earnings, and duration. So you have a little bit of control over, when you want to retire and how much you make. Again, some control. And longevity, meaning how long you're going to live. Again, some control, because usually the healthier you are, maybe the longer you live. But again, that's some control because you can get hit by a bus.
Right. You can't.
The things that you have no control over. So these are the things that it makes no point stressing about are market returns, right? What the stock market is going to do tomorrow, next year, 10 years, you have no control over. Taxation. People are always stressed about what's the next tax policy going to be, what our tax rate's going to be 10 years. you have no control over it. You just don't, right? So why stress about these things? And this is where having planning, right, should help alleviate the stresses of the things that you have no control over, right? So the better you are in the spots that you have total control and some control should help alleviate the stresses of the things that you have no control over. And we wanted to put the chart in to kind of give you an idea. Start getting in that mindset now.
Yeah, I love this chart, and it's from the Guide to Retirement, and they do a really great job of laying a lot of different things. JP Morgan Guide to Retirement, and they do a lot of different charts and graphs, and I think this one is just kind of hits the nail right on the head, and is probably more applicable to just everyday life than just retirement as well. There are just things that you have control over, things that you don't have control over, and things that you have some control over.
Right.
And I find that a lot of people just even not talking about investing or retirement or what have you, just again, very often dwell on a lot of the things that are kind of out of their control, and then kind of neglect the things that they have total control over or some control over. So,
and I'm a victim of that as well. You know,
everyone is to some extent, right? It's just kind of knowing that, understanding it, kind of revisiting it, coming back to it, and then realizing and kind of executing from there. I think, having that in the back of your head will kind of do wonders, not only for retirement, but just in life in general.
Probably. Yeah, when I'm watching the Eagles on Sunday, I have to kind of remind myself I have no control over that game, right? I have no control over whether or not they're going to lose. I tell myself that every Sunday.
But every Philadelphia sports fan focuses on the things that are out of their control. Right. So we're all very aware.
It makes us miserable. So there you go. All right, everyone. Well, that's all we have for this first video. Keep an eye out. The next video, like I said, will be focusing on retirement income, right? So Social Security, pensions, part-time work, supplementation of your income. That's usually a great topic, and we can get very in depth with it. So we look forward to seeing you then. And again, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd really appreciate it. And thank you for watching.
See you guys.